I was 13 when I first discovered my parents were expert liars. Not the harmless kind who fib about eating the last cookie, but the type who orchestrate entire shadow lives while maintaining picture-perfect smiles at dinner. My name is Harper, and I probably should have seen it coming. The whispered phone calls. The work trips that never quite lined up with their office calendars. The way mom and dad stopped fighting entirely, like they'd given up on even trying to fix things. That Tuesday evening, I was sprawled on the kitchen floor, supposedly doing homework, but actually trying to fix my earbuds. The marble tiles were cool against my cheek as I worked on the tangled wires. That's when I heard them in Dad's study. "We need to tell her soon," Mom said, her voice carrying through the heating vent. "Nolan wants to announce our engagement next month." I froze, the earbud wire slipping from my fingers. "Funny timing," Dad replied with a bitter laugh. "Marissa and I were planning the same thing." The air seemed to vanish from my lungs. I pressed my ear closer to the vent, barely breathing. "You're already engaged?" Mom's voice cracked. "When were you planning to mention that?" "About the same time you were going to tell me about moving in with your boyfriend, I guess." I must have made some sound, a gasp or a whimper, because they both went quiet. Footsteps approached the study door. I scrambled up, grabbing my scattered homework, and fled to my room. That night, I lay in bed staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars Dad and I had stuck on my ceiling years ago. They seemed dimmer now, like even they knew our family was falling apart. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Vivian. She always seemed to know when something was wrong. "You okay, kiddo?" she wrote. I started typing "I'm fine," but stopped. For the first time in my life, I wasn't sure how to lie about being okay. Instead, I watched the cursor blink until my screen went dark, wondering how many other secrets were hiding in the shadows of our perfect family home. 2 weeks after the vent incident, I found myself sitting at a restaurant table that felt more like a hostage situation. Mom had insisted on this family dinner to introduce her fiancé Nolan and his twin daughters, Tessa and Lila. Dad brought his future wife Marissa and her son Asher. I was stuck between them all, pushing pasta around my plate and wondering if anyone else noticed how weird this was. "Harper, sweetie, Tessa and Lila are in your grade at Riverside Prep," Mom said, her smile too bright. "Maybe you could show them around when school starts." The twins exchanged a look I couldn't read. They were identical down to their matching pearl earrings, but something in Tessa's eyes made me nervous. "We already know our way around," Lila said, not looking up from her phone. "We've been there since kindergarten." "Of course they have," Marissa chimed in, her voice dripping honey. "Riverside's quite selective. Though I'm sure Harper will catch up eventually." Dad cleared his throat but said nothing. He was too busy laughing at something on Marissa's phone. I felt my face burn. I'd been at public school my whole life. Apparently that was changing too. Asher, who'd been quiet until now, caught my eye and gave me a slight eye roll. At least someone else seemed to notice how ridiculous this was. "Speaking of school," Nolan announced, "Eloise and I think it would be best if Harper stayed with us during the week. The house is closer to Riverside." "Actually," Dad finally looked up, "Marissa and I were thinking Harper should live with us. We have the spare room and—" "I'm right here," I said, but nobody seemed to hear me. They continued arguing about my living arrangements like I was a piece of furniture they were dividing up. Under the table, I texted Aunt Vivian, "Can I come over tonight?" Her response was immediate. "Already making up the guest room, kiddo." I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "I need some air." As I walked away, I heard Marissa say, "Teenagers can be so dramatic." I pushed through the restaurant doors, gulping in the cool evening air. Behind me, I could hear footsteps. Probably Mom coming to lecture me about making a scene. But when I turned around, it was Asher instead. "They're all pretty awful, aren't they?" he said quietly. The first day at Riverside Prep felt like walking into enemy territory. Mom had won the custody battle for school days, which meant I was stuck living with her, Nolan, and the twins during the week. I'd barely unpacked when I discovered what blending families really meant. My bedroom, my old art studio, had been transformed into a shared space with Tessa and Lila. My easel was gone, replaced by their matching vanities. My paintings had vanished from the walls, now covered with their competition ribbons and social media-worthy photos. "Where's all my stuff?" I asked Mom, who was arranging flowers in the kitchen like everything was normal. "In storage, honey. The twins needed space for their things, and you hardly paint anymore anyway. Because you got rid of my supplies last month." She sighed, that new sigh she developed, the one that said I was being difficult. "Nolan thinks it's better if you focus on academics. Art isn't really a practical pursuit." I bit my tongue until I tasted metal. Upstairs, I could hear Tessa and Lila giggling, probably planning their next social media post. They'd already accidentally knocked my phone into the pool yesterday, destroying years of saved photos with Dad. That evening, I found my old sketchbook in the recycling bin. As I pulled it out, a receipt fluttered to the ground, dated 3 months ago. It was for a moving company with Mom's signature at the bottom. 3 months ago, before they told me about the divorce. Before they pretended to be surprised by each other's engagements. My phone buzzed, Dad canceling our weekend plans again. Marissa booked a couples retreat. Next weekend for sure, princess. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then I opened my laptop and started searching. Property records. Social media posts. Old emails I shouldn't have been able to access but did anyway. Thank you, Dad, for never changing your password for my birthday. The truth emerged like a connect-the-dots picture. Apartment leases, joint bank accounts, school registration forms, all dated months before their sudden separation. They hadn't just planned their new lives without me. They'd built them, brick by brick, while I still believed in family game nights and Sunday pancakes. That's when I decided, if they wanted to play happy families without me, I'd show them exactly how unhappy I could make their perfect new lives. Revenge started small. I switched Tessa and Lila's shampoo with temporary hair dye before their Instagram photo shoot. Posted their private group chat screenshots where they mocked less wealthy classmates. Accidentally spilled juice on Marissa's designer dress during Dad's engagement party. But they were smarter than I gave them credit for. "Harper, care to explain this?" Nolan dropped my laptop on the kitchen table one morning. On screen was my search history. How to hack email accounts, accessing old text messages, legal custody rights for teens. Mom stood behind him, arms crossed. "We found these too." She scattered printed screenshots across the table. Evidence of my minor acts of sabotage. The twins have been in tears for weeks. We thought they were being paranoid, but clearly your daughter needs professional help. Marissa chimed in from the doorway. When had she arrived? "Grant, and I think a boarding school might be best. There's an excellent one in Switzerland." "You've been discussing me with them?" Mom's face flushed. "Without consulting me? Like you consulted me about moving in with Nolan?" I shot back. "Or about shipping my art supplies to storage 3 months before telling me about the divorce?" The room went silent. Dad appeared behind Marissa, his expression unreadable. "How did you know about that?" "I know everything," I said, my voice shaking. "The apartment leases, the joint bank accounts, the school registration forms. You all planned this whole thing months ago. You just forgot to plan where to put me." Nolan stepped forward, his voice stern. "Young lady, you had no right to access private information. Save it." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "I'm staying with Aunt Vivian." "Don't be dramatic." Mom reached for my arm. "We can discuss this. Like you discussed replacing my art studio with the twins' vanities? Or canceling my art classes because they didn't fit your new family's image." I grabbed my pre-packed backpack from behind the door. I'd been ready for this moment. As I walked out, I heard Marissa say, "See? This is exactly why we need to consider more drastic measures." I was halfway to Aunt Vivian's house before my phone started blowing up with messages. I ignored them all except one from Asher. "They're calling an emergency family meeting about you. Watch your back." Aunt Vivian's guest room became my sanctuary for exactly 6 days before the adults decided to play their final card. I was sketching in the backyard, actually feeling peaceful for the first time in months, when Uncle Ethan came out looking grim. "Your parents are here," he said quietly. "All 4 of them, with their lawyers." The kitchen felt crowded with suits and fake sympathy. Mom had been crying. Her mascara was perfect, so I knew they were performance tears. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Harper, Nolan took charge naturally. We're concerned about your recent behavior. The hacking, the vindictive actions against your stepsisters. Half-sisters. Marissa corrected automatically. Everyone ignored her. We've decided, Mom continued, her voice wavering right on cue, that you need specialized help. There's a therapeutic boarding school in Vermont.
No.
Aunt Vivian's voice cut through the room like steel. You're not shipping her off because she exposed her lies. Vivian, Dad warned, this isn't your decision. Actually, Vivian pulled out her own folder. I filed for emergency guardianship yesterday. Given Harper's documented evidence of parental alienation and emotional neglect, the room erupted. Lawyers shuffled papers. Mom's tears became real. Marissa started talking about family therapy. Nolan mentioned something about criminal charges for hacking. I slipped out during the chaos, my hands shaking so bad I could barely climb the oak tree in the backyard, my latest hiding spot. From here, I could see through the kitchen window, Aunt Vivian standing her ground, Uncle Ethan's steady presence behind her, my parents and their new spouses gesturing angrily. My phone buzzed. A text from Asher. They're trying to make you look unstable. Marissa's been coaching the twins to exaggerate stories about you. Don't give them anything they can use. Another buzz. This time from Grandmother Maeve. Coming to visit next week. Have something important to tell you. Hold on until then, little warrior. I watched a bird build its nest in the branches above me, methodically weaving twigs and string into something strong enough to protect its future family. Maybe that's what I needed to do. Stop trying to tear down their perfect new lives and start building something of my own. But first, I had some evidence to gather. Grandmother Maeve never made it to our meeting. The call came at midnight. A stroke, they said. Quick and painless. I sat on my bed, clutching my phone, remembering how she always smelled like paint and peppermint tea. The funeral was yesterday. Today, I'm sitting in a lawyer's office, surrounded by the same people who were ready to ship me off to boarding school last week. Funny how death changes things. As per Maeve Lane's final wishes, the lawyer adjusted his glasses. Her entire estate, including the trust fund and family home, is left to her granddaughter, Harper Lane. The room went silent, then erupted. She's 13, Dad protested. She can't possibly manage. The trust will be managed by Vivian and Ethan Lane until Harper turns 21, the lawyer continued, with strict provisions against any interference from other family members. Mom's face turned an interesting shade of red. That's our daughter. We have rights. Actually, Vivian cut in, given the pending guardianship case. About that, Marissa's smile was razor-sharp. Grant and I have been discussing private school options in Switzerland. Very exclusive, very focused on troubled teens. I stood up so fast my chair toppled backward. I'm not troubled. I'm tired. Tired of being traded like baseball cards between your perfect new families. Tired of pretending it doesn't hurt when you cancel plans or throw away my art or act like I'm some inconvenient leftover from your old lives. Harper. Mom reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't.
Just don't.
My voice cracked. Grandmother Maeve was the only one who saw me.
Really saw me.
And now, the lawyer cleared his throat. There's one more thing. A letter, to be opened only by Harper. I took the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single photo, Mom and Dad at my age, standing with a woman I'd never seen before. On the back, in Grandmother Maeve's handwriting, some secrets destroy families. Others set them free. Your parents aren't who they think they are. Neither are you. Look in the blue box in my attic. It's time you knew the truth. I looked up to find everyone staring at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in my parents' eyes. The blue box in Grandmother Maeve's attic contained adoption papers. Not mine, my parents. Both of them, adopted from the same agency, different families, which made the photo of them together as teenagers impossible. Unless, I didn't have time to process because Dad burst into the attic, face pale. Harper, whatever you found. You and Mom are siblings. I said flatly. That's why Grandmother Maeve left everything to me. She was trying to protect me from this. He stumbled backward like I'd hit him. Behind him, Mom appeared, tears streaming. We didn't know. Not until after you were born. Maeve told us. Stop lying. My voice cracked. The photos dated. You were teenagers. Together. You knew. We can explain. Dad reached for me, but I dodged. Explain what? How you've been living a lie. How you decided to blow up our family when the guilt got too much. I grabbed the box. Or maybe explain these bank statements showing you've been stealing from Grandmother Maeve's accounts for years? Mom's tears dried instantly. Those are private. Like the trust fund you and Nolan tried to access last month? Or the mortgage Dad and Marissa took out on Grandmother's house without permission? You don't understand. Dad's voice hardened. We had debts. Because you were blackmailing each other. I threw the photos, documents, and bank statements into the air. Everyone trying to keep everyone else's secrets. Well, guess what? I'm done keeping them. Asher appeared in the doorway. Phone recording. Got it all, Harper. Sent to Aunt Vivian's lawyer. Mom lunged for his phone, but Asher was faster. Dad moved to block the door, but years of feeling trapped had taught me to always have an escape route. I slipped through the attic window onto the roof. Harper, please. Mom called after me. We're still your parents. No. I stood on the edge, finally seeing everything clearly. You're just people who've been lying to me my whole life. And I'm done trying to fix a family that was never real to begin with. I jumped to the oak tree branch, the same one I'd been practicing on for weeks, leaving them calling my name into the growing dark. 5 years later, I'm standing in Grandmother Maeve's garden, watching Aunt Vivian hang fairy lights for my high school graduation party. The inheritance money didn't just pay for my education, it funded therapy for everyone involved, though some needed it more than others. Mom and Dad took plea deals for the financial fraud. They're out now, trying to rebuild their lives separately. Sometimes they send letters, which I keep in a box but don't always read. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. Need help with those lights? Asher appears beside me, taller now but still wearing that crooked smile. After everything fell apart, he chose to live with us too. Turns out broken families can make strong bonds. Just thinking, I say, touching the acceptance letter in my pocket. Full scholarship to medical school, something Grandmother Maeve always said I'd be good at. Fixing people is easier than fixing families. The twins show up later, without their parents. We're not close, but we're civil. They apologized last year for their part in everything. I apologized too for the hair dye incident. Sometimes revenge just makes the hurt last longer. Uncle Ethan brings out Grandmother Maeve's old easel, my graduation gift. He's restored it, but left her paint splatter marks intact. Found something else too, he says, handing me a sealed envelope with my name in her handwriting. Inside is a sketch of me as a baby, held by my parents. On the back she wrote, "They were young and scared, but they loved you. Fear makes people do terrible things. Love makes people try to fix them. Choose love, little warrior, but never forget to be brave." I pin the sketch to the easel and start mixing colors. Around me, my chosen family mingles with my biological one, all of us damaged, all of us healing. Aunt Vivian catches my eye and nods. She understands why I invited everyone, even those who hurt me. What are you painting? Asher peers over my shoulder. I dip my brush in blue, Grandmother Maeve's favorite color, and start outlining a family tree. But instead of straight lines connecting everyone, I'm drawing a garden, wild and overgrown, where broken branches grow in new directions, creating something unexpected, but somehow more beautiful than the original design. Sometimes the family you need isn't the one you're born into, it's the one you grow.